Good morning, Unity of Olympia. If you feel led to stand up, if you feel led to clap, if you feel led to dance, please do as your spirit leads and sing with me. I can see clearly now the rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. Gone are the dark clouds that had me blind. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. I think I can make it now, the rain is gone. All of the bad feelings have disappeared. Here is the rainbow I've been praying for. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. Look all around, there's nothing but blue skies. Look straight ahead, there's nothing but blue I can see clearly now the rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. Gone are the dark clouds that had me blind. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. Oh, it's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day.
Brewer and Cochron, our guest musicians today. It's wonderful to have these fabulous musicians. So at Unity, we honor all faith traditions and all paths to God. At Unity of Olympia, we encourage people living into lives of freedom and joy. That's what we're here for. I'm gonna, yes, I got a yes. That's like an amen, isn't it? In the white Protestant church. Good, okay. Let's see, I'm gonna light this candle. I think that as I light this candle, I want to invite you to seeing it as a symbol of that divine presence that lives within each and every one of us. This is pretty great, like there's 3 people up front and 40 in the back. That's fabulous. Good morning, everybody at home. Please join me in prayer. Spirit, we open our hearts, our minds, every cell of our bodies to the conscious awareness of this great mystery that lives in, through, and as us. We call it forth in all of our circumstances, in all of the experiences of our life. As we call forth this awareness of the presence that lives and moves and has its being in us, we pray knowing that our lives are meant for good, for love, for peace and joy. We pray knowing truth for all humanity, that wholeness is our very nature. So we pray this for others as well in this moment, that anyone, anywhere, experiencing anything less than wholeness may know the truth of their being, that God is present and accounted for. In deep gratitude, we say, thank you, God. Together, thank you, God. So it is. Amen.
If you are in the sound of my voice, every single person in this room, no matter what you have told yourself, you are as God created you. In God's light, in the love, in the glory. Can I hear you say, I am as God created me? I want to hear that again. I am as God created me. Now, before we get into this, does anybody else know this song? No? Oh, this is a new one for a lot of people. Okay. So I'm going to sing the first line, and then I'm going to have you guys copy me. Okay? So here's how the first line goes. It goes, I am as God created me, in the light, in the love, in the glory. Go. I am as God created me, in the light, in the love, in the glory. That's the first part, okay? And then the second part goes, hold on, waiting room. It's faster, okay? We got it. In the light, in the love, in the glory. In the light, in the love, in the glory. In the light, in the love, in the glory, I am. So it's literally those little words, okay? So we're going to go through this a couple times. I'm not going to make you do a round, I promise. Because when we get real wild and crazy with it, that's what we do. One part of the room takes one, the other part takes, we're not going to do it. I am as God created me, in the light, in the love, in the glory. I am as God created me, in the light, in the love, in the glory. In the light, in the love, in the glory. In the light, in the love, in the glory. In the light, in the love, in the glory, I am. In the light, in the love, in the glory. In the light, in the love, in the glory. In the light, in the love, in the glory, I am. Please stand. I am as God created me, in the light, in the love, in the glory. I am as God created me, in the light, in the love, in the glory. You ready? Here we go. In the light, in the love, in the glory. In the light, in the love, in the glory. In the light, in the love, in the glory, I am. In the light, in the love, in the glory. In the light, in the love, in the glory. In the light, in the love, in the glory, I am. One more time. I am as God created me, in the light, in the love, in the glory. I am as God created me, in the light, in the love, in the glory.
Isn't that music wonderful? Fantastic. I am Cynthia Dallas's husband. I'll get the important part out first. By the way, you all are, including the people at home, exactly where you need to be. Welcome to our spiritual home. At this time, we invite our wonderful youth and their teachers to leave us for their classroom. Oh, they're coming forward. Here we go. Many of our teachers are volunteers, which we very much appreciate. It is your generosity that allows us to continue our youth education program as well as our amazing musicians. Thank you for your support.
Good morning. Good morning. Look at this. Oh my gosh, you guys. It's amazing. I am so glad to see all of our friends, and we have so many good people here today. I almost want to cry, you guys. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. So we have a new thing called the treasure chest, and we're going to have one of our friends, I think I'm going to go over here, Miss Caitlin. Miss Caitlin, will you pull one thing out of the treasure chest for us? Just one thing, anything you can think of. Oh, I had a feeling you were going to pull that one. I had a feeling you were going to pull that one. So this is our treasure chest of mindfulness. Many of you got mindfulness treasures over the summer. Whoops, I'll pull this over here. And we were talking about how we could be mindful with these things. Again, just loving the light here. So she pulled a Rubik's Cube. A Rubik's Cube. Can anybody tell me how this could be mindfulness or closer to God? Think about a Rubik's Cube. What is it that about a Rubik's Cube that could be mindfulness or closer to God? Anybody know? Does anybody know up here? Mindfulness and closer to God. Have you guys ever heard of stick-with-itness or grit? Does anybody here ever had to stick with something to learn something?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I've had to stick with something to learn something. Has anybody here learned how to ride a bike? Raise your hand if you learned how to ride a bike. Yeah. Raise your hand if you've learned an instrument or a new sport. An instrument, a new sport. You've had to stick with it. Do you think with the Rubik's Cube you have to stick with it?
Yeah.
Okay, anyone in the room has been able to solve the Rubik's Cube? Not me. Not me. I'm not one of those people. However, it's one of those things that you've got to stick with. And the people that did learn how to solve it had to learn how to stay with the program. Stick with it. So that's our lesson for this week, is to stick with it. So everybody say this affirmation with me. Let's see, I put one on here. I use the power of wisdom. You can repeat after me. I use the power of wisdom.
I use the power of wisdom
To solve my problems.
to solve my problems
And learn new things.
and learn new things.
Thank you, everyone. Again, today I am taking volunteers in the back. If you can give me an hour of your time, we're going to clean out one of our rooms and get it ready to give away stuff. Now, last week, the people who helped, I want to thank you so much. We were able to go through so many of our things, and they got some free stuff. So if you'd like to come in the back and help for an hour after church, that's one of your opportunities. Thank you so much.
And as the children are leaving the room, we are going to sing for them, "We Are Walking in the Light." Well, no, we're singing a cappella today, so we are walking in the light, in the light, in the light. We are walking in the light of God. In the light, 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 in the light of God.
Well, it's a typical Sunday here at Unity of Work. With a ton of announcements, I think get settled in your chair, you're going to be here a while. One of the most important things is there's a lot of stuff which people have not picked up in the library meeting room. And we'd like you to pick up a box or two and take it to Goodwill or use it yourself. But there's some nice stuff, and I took some things too. I'm not going to tell you what it is. Okay, Reverend Terry has some announcements.
Well, there are several announcements and events shown on the handout, the bulletin insert. So first, I just want to invite those of you who knew Kathy Weaver, who served here as the office manager for many, many years ago, to support her in knowing that she is whole and well as she says goodbye to her husband. He passed recently, and we will be having a memorial service here on Saturday. So there's information about that. And then secondly, I really want to encourage y'all to consider taking the prosperity class that Reverend David will be teaching on Saturday mornings in October. As we prepare to release what we have and move into a new vision and a new home physically for Unity of Olympia, I need you all on board. All of us need all of our abundance, prosperity, consciousness so that we can move into a new way of being with the minimal or no fear, with minimal or no ideas of lack, knowing that we are enough. So that's a little mini lesson, and I really want to encourage you to consider that prosperity class. It'll start the second Saturday in October. Those are my announcements.
Okay. We acknowledge that this land and water is traditional territory of the Stashas people and other indigenous people. They are of the Squaxin Island tribe. The surrounding mountains, valleys, shorelines, and waterways are imbued with their presence. Our community's commitment to ourselves and others brings us together and makes the world a healthier and safer place for all.
join us in that, just in your own prayer practice. I shouldn't say just, in your own prayer practice. And also, if you want prayer, I'll be here after service by the front windows, and you can place a prayer in the prayer box. And we send those to Silent Unity after we have prayed over them, where they're held in prayer for 30 days. Today's daily word is thoughtful. My kind thoughts and deeds are a blessing. Today, I bring the love and peace of God to all of my encounters by being thoughtful. More than politeness and deeper than kindness, thoughtfulness means I consider the comfort and happiness of others equal to my own. My intention is to let those in my life know what they mean to me. I may reach out to someone who needs an encouraging word, letting them know they have what it takes to succeed. I may surprise someone with a kind act, anticipating a need and taking care of something for them before they have to ask. Each thoughtful word and act lets those in my life know how important they are to me and how worthy they are of my time and attention. From Hebrews 13, verse 16, do not neglect to do good and to share what you have, for such sacrifices are pleasing to God. My kind thoughts and deeds are a blessing. I invite you to affirm that with me.
My kind thoughts and deeds are a blessing.
And so it is.
Thank you to the prayer team. And now I invite you to lead me in our statement of faith. There is only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life, God the good, all power, presence, and wisdom. It is in God that I live and move and have my being. And so it is. So this lady invited a bunch of people to dinner. It was a really good idea when it started out. And then one thing after another, and then everybody was there, and they're all sitting at the table, and she's like, oh, these are church people. We should pray. And she looks to her 6-year-old daughter, and she says, will you lead us in grace? And the 6-year-old looks at her like, what? She looks at her and she says, just say what mommy says. Lord, why on earth did I invite all these people? You know, a divine idea shows up, and we want to act on it. And if we act on it immediately, that's great. And then we do all the footwork, and the footwork can be a little tiring. And then we get to the place where everything is being made manifest, and humor shows up. And it's perfect. Because that lady belonged to Unity, and so everybody was really happy with that prayer. It's great to start something with a laugh, isn't it? Today I want to talk about divine ideas and how they show up, and the many different responses that we have to a good idea that just shows up in consciousness, including a response of no way. That's not real. Not me. I can't do that. And today's invitation is for you to be with the divine idea long enough to say yes to the divine ideas in your life. I also want to get more clear about what it means to have a divine idea show up. So, last week I talked about Moses and the burning bush, and he came face to face with God, and got the name of God as I am that I am. I want to continue on that story today. As soon as he recognizes God in this burning bush, and he says, yeah, okay, I'm not having a hallucination, I'm not mentally ill, there's God. Because that's what y'all do too. God says, I'm sending you to Pharaoh to bring my people, the Israelites, out of Egypt. A divine idea based on freedom, right? That's how we know something is a divine idea? Is if it's based on an attribute that we would assign to God. Freedom. But Moses said to God, "Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and bring the Israelites out of Egypt?" And the very first response, God says, "I will be with you." As we consider the work that we are called to do, as we hear divine ideas show up in our head, or ideas of any sort, we want to take a look at what is the attribute that is of God that is being expressed in this divine idea. As I'm having people over for dinner, as I think about having people over for dinner, is that about connection? Is it about love? Is it about compassion? Or am I going to put poison in the food and kill somebody? Right? No. But the divine idea, what's the divine idea behind the idea that shows up, the action? Moses continued to say no. He says, "What if they don't believe me? I'm not a good speaker." And again, these words from Exodus, he says, "Pardon your servant. Lord, please send someone else." I'm going to guess that there are people here who have had some sort of call, some invitation, some divine idea. And the response you might have had was, "I don't have the experience, I don't have the education, I have no history in this. How can I be the one?" And then there's this experience of God is. Please take this from me. And then we go on the journey anyway. The hero's journey is really played out over and over again in the Bible, through the heroes of the Bible. Moses is the hero of the Jewish people, of the Hebrew scriptures. Jesus is the hero of the Christian scriptures. And over again, we can look to these stories for clues about our own lives. Here at Unity of Olympia, we have been in a preparation stage, in a discussion stage that is taking a little longer, according to the book of Exodus, than it took the Israel people to leave Egypt. We've been in the discussion about, should we stay or should we go? Should we stay here in this building with this land, or should we go somewhere else? And just like Moses, we as a people have said, well, what are we going to do? Where are we going to go? How's it going to work? We don't have what it takes. And just like Moses, we've heard that call. I will be with you. God is with us. God is with us on our journey. The idea of the hero's journey has been given categories by Joseph Campbell. Some of you remember Joseph Campbell from the 60s and 70s, and he really separated out these three parts of the journey. The first part being separation. And separation is also known as the call, right? The idea that we're supposed to do something different, I'm supposed to do something different. It's a call for a change. And then there's this middle part. And in the story of Moses, we know easily that middle part is going to be 40 years in the desert. Now, I'm going to tell you, I'm hoping we don't spend 40 years in the desert as a community. 40 represents, in Hebrew theology, it represents as long as it takes. And so we'll have some time with as long as it takes to be in an in-between place. And then the ending of that story is about new beginnings. The ending of the story about Moses is when they finally get to the promised land, and then Moses remains in the desert, and his son Joshua moves into the new beginning. You know, this is a journey that all of us are called to, but not all actually say yes. My invitation is that we say yes to the journey. Okay. So there's this guy, and he's lonely, single guy. So he decides to get a pet, and he wants to get an unusual pet. So when he goes to the pet store, he starts talking to the guy running the place, and he decides upon a centipede. And the centipede comes in a little white box. It's his house. So he takes him home, and he learns how to feed him and make sure that he has water and all that stuff that you do for your pets. Sunday morning, the guy gets up and he's like, "It's church. I think I'll take my pet to church. Hey, centipede, you want to go to church with me?" Silence. He says, "Hey, you want to go to church with me today? We'll have a good time." Looking in the glass drawer. Nothing. He asks another time, but this time he gets his face right up next to the centipede's house, and he yells, "Hey, you want to go to church with me?" The centipede comes out of there. "Hold on, I heard you the first time. I'm putting my shoes on." If you have 100 shoes you got to put on your feet, then it takes a long time to move forward. You know, one of the things that I've heard over and over again as we've been preparing for our move, as we've been in this preparation stage for a year and a half. It's been a long time. It's actually not a full year and a half, but it's getting close. As we've been in this preparation stage to release what we have and move into a new way of being, it's like, let's get on with it already. Come on, let's go to the next stage. Let's get out of here. Let's go find our new home. I'm tired of this. We keep talking about it. Well, we are at the place now where we're putting on the shoes. And there's 100 shoes. And we got different shoes. The different shoes fit different feet. So this is the opportunity for us all to say yes to the divine idea of something better for our community. When Jesus was called, the book of Matthew, let me just make sure that I wrote this down, so I want to make sure I'm saying this right. Yeah, the book of Matthew has him being baptized in the River Jordan by John the Baptist. As soon as Jesus was baptized, he went up out of the water. At that moment, heaven was opened, and he saw the Spirit of God descending like a dove and alighting on him. And a voice from heaven said, "This is my Son, whom I love. With him I am well pleased." The very first step when we've decided to say yes to a call is to be willing to hear the voice of God. To be willing. Jesus' story is that then he went out into the wilderness for 40 days and 40 nights and faced all kinds of temptations and all kinds of reasons that maybe he shouldn't follow through. Now, I know that the story is written in such a manner that makes it like there was a devil out there, but in my understanding, this is what we all walk through when we've said yes, just like Moses, right? It's just like, yeah, but if I have complete power and am in complete integrity, maybe I could do anything I want. Centering in God, returning to the yes of that divine idea. You know, both Moses and Jesus were doing the same thing, right? offering freedom to the Jewish people. There's a little bit of a price, but that's what he was offering, both of these men. So these stories in the Bible, the reason that I keep doing church and keep referring to the Bible, even though I know that Charles Fillmore kept saying, you know, we're a center for spiritual education, we're a center for learning, and yes, we honor all faith traditions and all paths to God. But for me, I grew up with the Bible, and so these are the stories I know the best, right? And for probably most of you as well. Even if you didn't grow up in any sort of church, who never heard of the burning bush? People might not have known what it meant, but we know these things. So these are about instruction. When we realize that God is living in and through us, then we move into a practice stage when we stop fighting back, right? And that practice stage is the stage that Jesus went into immediately after he came out of the wilderness. What did he do? He called the 12 disciples to him. Now, we do a lot of symbolism in Unity, and we used to call it metaphysics, and I still call it metaphysics from time to time, but it's really just symbolism. Charles Fillmore says, the subconscious realm in humanity has 12 great centers of action with 12 presiding egos or identities. When Jesus had attained a certain soul development, he called his 12 disciples to him. This means that when man is developing out of mere personal consciousness into spiritual consciousness, he begins to train deeper and larger powers. Okay, I hope that made some sense to you. Each of the 12 disciples represents a power that we have innately within us. The Christ consciousness, once it's grounded in knowing God, which is not the same as our ego consciousness, except if we really get grounded, then that's where it shows up, is in our heads, right? That consciousness relies on love, relies on faith, relies on strength, all of these divine ideas, these divine attributes, in order to manifest the divine idea. Are y'all with me? I know this is kind of some esoteric stuff, but I can re-explain it in a different way. Okay, you're all good. So each of the 12 powers is our practice tool. So we have in Unity these 5 basic principles. God is, we got that one, right? Yeah, right? Okay. Just checking. I am an expression of God. I am God expressing as me. You good? Yes. Third one, the law of mind action. Thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. The kinds of things that I think on a regular basis are the kinds of things that I'm going to experience and see in the world. Right? Yes. Right. Now the other stuff might show up. It doesn't mean that you won't see other stuff. It's just that when we have our consciousness trained on certain things, we're going to see that more and more. The fourth principle is I practice training my mind through prayer and meditation. Ooh, if people were waiting with bated breath, I heard a yes. I practice through prayer and meditation, affirmations, and denials. So this is where the 12 powers come in. When we are at a point where we know our highest self, that's what we call it in psychology, our Christ self, that's what we call it in Christianity, our divinity or divine self, divine nature, That's what many of the spiritual, not religious people will call it. When we know that self and we can recognize that self can access each one of the 12 powers to strengthen it. And that practice grows the ego. It creates a sense of knowing our own wholeness. How do we do that? We do that through the I am. I am love.
I am love.
I am faith.
I am faith.
I am divine strength.
I am divine strength.
I am divine imagination.
I am divine imagination.
So you kind of sound like a cult a little bit, but that's okay. The deal is that when we own these things, I mean, you may have noticed inside of you that you had a piece of you go, "Yeah, maybe not. Maybe not. I'm not sure about that." But you are called, otherwise you wouldn't be here. You at home are called, otherwise you wouldn't have watched this so far. I am. So when we know that Christ essence, we strengthen it and we give it more power when we own these individual attributes. So these 12 powers, I'm just going to list them off real quick. And you know what? I'm going to ask you to listen to this list and choose one. One that is calling to you. Faith, represented by Peter. Strength, represented by Andrew. Judgment, good judgment, represented by James, son of Zebedee. Love, represented by John. Power, represented by Philip. Imagination, represented by Bartholomew. Understanding, represented by Thomas. Will, represented by Matthew. Divine order, represented by James, son of Alphaeus. Zeal, represented by Simon, the Canaanite. Renunciation, release, represented by Thaddeus. And life, represented by Judas. All right. You got one? Okay. You know, these words are agreed upon symbols, right? They're agreed upon symbols of divine ideas. My assignment to you this week is to keep this word in your consciousness and to call it back over and over, all day long, every day, as much as possible. Let the, no, that's not me. No, this isn't right. The stuff that shows up that says, that's not mine to do. Be greeted with the I am. Okay, so I want to give you all a chance to say it. You all have different words, or maybe you all have the same word, I don't know. We'll find out. Because I'm going to ask you to say it out loud. We're going to say, I am, together. I am. Fabulous. In this room, we have all 12 powers. And truly, within each one of us, we have all 12 powers. This is the practice. This is what allows us to move into a different way of being. It gives us the strength to be on a journey to the desert, to not know where we're going. You know, this week, Lisa and David, all of our kids are back there, and they are, again, they're going to study for 4 weeks this Don Miguel Ruiz, be impeccable with your word from the 4 agreements. But they're just doing the first piece for 4 weeks. And I thought, you know, that's a really good idea. Because how many of us have those thoughts that say, I'm not, or I am something less than. To be impeccable with our word means to own the truth of our Christ nature, our divine nature. It means that Moses, beyond all of the I can't say it, beyond all of the I can't do it. Jesus, beyond all of the temptations in the wilderness. It's the I am. Don Miguel Ruiz says, when you hear an opinion and believe it, you make an agreement and it becomes part of your belief system. The only thing that can break this agreement is to make a new one based in truth. Only the truth has the power to set you free. Say yes to divine ideas. Be impeccable with your word. Speak with integrity. Say only what you mean. Avoid using the word to speak against yourself or to gossip about others. Use the power of your word in the direction of truth and love. And in so doing, you say yes to the divine ideas of God in your life. We're going to take that idea to meditation. You want to come and sing some music for us to get us going? Thank you. I invite you to relax. The Spirit of God moves in oneness. Please allow these words to be your own words. The Christ presence is my guide. I follow the Christ in me. I employ faculties of mind, faculties of heart, in living into this Christ presence. I am faith. I am strength. I am good judgment. I am love and I am power. The Christ power, the Christ love, the Christ within me employs these attributes, these strengths in all areas of my life. I am imagination and I am understanding. I am will. I am order. I am zeal and enthusiasm. I am the power of release and the power of life through that Christ presence, through the divinity that lives in and through me now. I invite you to take these ideas for a moment into the silence and let that Christ presence speak the name of the attributes that will serve you as the I am in the silence. The divine presence lives, moves, and has its being in, through, and as all of life, including me. We're so grateful for this opportunity to know the truth, the great stories of history, and how they apply to our own lives. To know the truth of the greatness of life, of God, of spirit, showing up in our consciousness, in our bodies, and in all that we do. Thank you, Spirit. Amen.
also not blessed to have such an inspiring leader. She's invincible. She's unstoppable. She's our own wondrous Reverend Terry. And when we move, let's not forget to take her with us. Well, welcome back to our spiritual home. We know that everyone is here by divine appointment, not by accident. And we'd like to take a moment and recognize our guests. If you're a traveler from another Unity ministry, or if you're returning after an extended absence, please raise your hand so we can welcome you. Welcome, sir. If today is your first time visiting us, please raise your hand. No first timers, okay. If this is your second or third visit to Unity of Olympia, please raise your hand so that we can welcome you back. Reverend Terry would like to meet our guests at the end of the service, and she'll be available outside in the foyer to answer any questions you may have. Regular congregation members who want or time to speak to Reverend Terry, I suggest you email her or request an appointment. Inside the packet for our first-time guests is a survey, and if you fill it out on both sides, there's a gift for you. Now it's time for our conscious contributions. I invite the ushers to come forward to receive today's conscious contribution. As some of you may know, there are many ways to give. Electronic donors, those who give on the website, and by email, and also Venmo. And you can use the church's last four phone numbers, 5757. And now take your gifts in your hands and join me in blessing those love offerings. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Open to the sacred richness of our infinite source, we as Unity of Olympia, joyfully co-creating limited prosperity right now. Thank you, God.
So a little story, short. When you ask God for something, you better be willing to accept the answer. So, when I was in my 20s, I was dating somebody who didn't necessarily have belief systems, and she liked to have a healthy debate. And we were debating one night, and I left so frustrated. And I got in my car, and I was driving up the hill, and I slammed my hands down on the steering wheel, and I said, you know what, God, I demand you answer me. And then I said, never mind, you're not going to hear me anyhow. And then I got to the gas station across the street from my house, where I was pretty familiar with the population that visited and asked for money and all that stuff. And there was a guy that I had never seen before. And he asked me for money. All I had was my mother's debit card. It was her card. And so I apologized, and he said, "Grr." And then I went to go get in my car, and he says, hold on. And I turned around, and he said, I'm supposed to tell you that you don't need to ask the questions you're asking, because you're perfect just as you are. And I went home, and I bawled on my mother's carpet. I bawled. She says, well, you demanded an answer. What do you expect? So, when you ask, you better be ready to receive. That's a lie. That's what people say. You're riding high and they roll and shut down at night.
Derek, for giving Jenny a day off. It's wonderful, wonderful to have you here today. You want to come on forward, ushers? Oh. Are y'all feeling grateful? Me too. Me too. So as we bless these gifts, I want you to, I'm going to make a request that it's kind of like telling you what to do, but you could say no. I want you to really be thinking about the abundance that we have, so much that we can give some away. Spirit, we recognize that these gifts are gifts out of our abundance, and that they go forward to bless this community and even beyond this community. We call forward the blessing of a greater experience of the divine in our lives, a greater experience showing up as love, as order, as strength, as deep and spiritual understanding, showing up in all of the ways that allow us to move more deeply into our true nature of wholeness, so that we may be a blessing and invite others to do the same. Sweet Spirit, we're so grateful, blessing these gifts and all the gifts who have come in throughout the week, and also blessing this community of givers. And so it is. Amen.
Just a reminder, for the first time in a long time, hospitality after the service. I'm sure you stopped by. Linda Irick will be over there by the window for private prayer. And now I get to do the checking in charge here. Oh my gosh, it's Cynthia. I don't know what to say. There it is. Just to give my wife, don't forget to give me a red baseball. And now it's time for prayer.
Well, actually, I have a couple of announcements too. So in the spirit of releasing what we no longer need and the great abundance of what we have, I want to invite you to do us a favor. No, do all of us, if like doing it for you, because you're part of us. Down the hallway there, on the left, there's a room filled with boxes that need to go away. Now, you don't have to take them home, but if you put them into 2 of them in your car, you could take them to your favorite charity. Goodwill or Salvation Army, and many hands, 100 feet takes 100 shoes. It would be great if those 100 shoes were not all on me or the leadership, right? So stop and get a box or 2 out of the room on the left across from the restrooms. Also, we have more giveaways that you might want. If you would like some yard tools, we have an abundance of yard tools out in the shed. Arlen, I believe, Arlen, did you open the shed?
Yes.
Ha! The shed is open. Go take a look and see if there's any need. I know I need a rake. I don't need a rake, I want a rake. And there's a rake out there, I'm gonna get a rake. Would you get me the rake?
Yes.
Thank you. So, and then if you don't need any yard tools or want any yard tools, that's fine. That's fine, because we will offer them up to the buyer after that. Okay, last, I know, one more thing. Last thing, where is it? Oh, we need kitty litter. So, is it Wednesday afternoon at 1 o'clock we're moving stuff? Okay. We're packing stuff on Wednesday afternoon if you have time. Wednesday afternoon at 1 o'clock to get an hour or 3. We're gonna continue to pack, getting ready for our move. We're not like doing it all one day. We're taking our time and doing it a little at a time. So we want to invite you to join us. And when you do that, bring some kitty litter. Do you want to make up some reasons about why I would invite people to bring kitty litter?
Curiosity.
It has to do with paint.
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 We have buckets of paint that need to go, but the most environmentally conscious, healthy thing to do for our planet is to put kitty litter into that paint and so that it can get good and hard and dry, and then we'll haul them off. Done. Thank you. Okay, now so all of those things for you today. What are you gonna do? Take a box and
Buy kitty litter.
buy great, excellent. Okay, that's it. You want to pray now? I'm going to pray that you do that stuff. Stand up. Let's pray. And if you at home want to do any of that stuff, Wednesday, 1 o'clock, we'd love to have you here. Ready? The light of God surrounds us. We are the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. We are the love of God. The power of God protects us. We are the power of God. And the presence of God watches over us. We are the presence of God. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Thank you for those at home joining us today. Have a